Welcome back, everyone. Don't even think about going anywhere for the next 10, 15 minutes. You're not going to believe where we are. Actually, when I'm in here, I think to myself, I just remember the words, go to the back of the room and stand in the corner. And I don't know why I'm thinking, you recognize what I'm saying, don't you? This is Marianne Scribner. And Marianne Scribner is a resident of the Granville area and also went to school in this one-room schoolhouse. So we obviously have a lot to talk about. And the person responsible for inviting us here and also just setting up this wonderful renovation project of this absolute jewel in our community is Dave Garvoille.
That's
oh
great.
My God, we're close enough, Dave. You know, it was a real struggle. Yeah. Who's business development director or manager for Hicks Orchard. Now, this schoolhouse, by the way, is located right on the corner of a couple of country road intersections.
Yes, it's on the corner of Hicks and Slyborough Road.
So that motorcycle you hear in the background, we're not stopping for, nor the trucks, nor anything else. We're just going to keep going. So first, welcome to both of you.
Oh my goodness.
Case in point.
That's real life, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing so many interviews on Zoom lately. I can't tell you what it's like to go out in the field. But when you talk about going out in the field, and then you talk about coming here, this is absolutely insane. So I want to go back. This is a one-room schoolhouse. I think the community, you said, built it like 1900, right? Not that you were there, but it close.
Right.
But no cigar. It was a schoolhouse operative till about 1950. Then it shut down, fell into disrepair, and lo and behold, David here, visionary, looked at it and thought, wait a minute, we're not going to let this go down. We're going to do something. So let me just start with you. You went to school here?
Yes.
Do you remember that stove?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
That's insane.
From 1946 to 1950, I went to school here.
Right. Now, okay, let's set the stage a little bit here, Marianne. The very rural town, right? There was a little hamlet called Slyborough.
Yes.
At that time, which no longer exists.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Now it's kind of like Middle Granville or Upper Granville or
yes,
Granville.
I think it's all included in Granville.
So what was it like then?
Oh, it was quiet. It was peaceful. Everybody knew everybody. So as a child, I could walk from the tenant house we lived in just across the road to my grandmother's, which is probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, and not think a thing about it. Wave to the milkman, wave to the mailman. Everybody knew everybody. You know, my mother would call my grandmother, say she's on her way. No problem.
So the school was grades 1 through 6?
Yes.
Okay, so does that mean that 1 through 6 are all in the same room together at the same time?
Yes.
All kind of sharing and learning?
Yes.
What was that experience like that?
The older kids helped the younger kids. Well, my aunt maybe concentrated on kids that needed more help.
Yeah, I got it.
My aunt was the school teacher. Her name was Helen McHenry. And at home she was Aunt Helen. In the schoolroom she was Mrs. McHenry.
Yeah, never the twain shall meet, right? Yeah, there were certain rules and kind of regulations there. You know what I like that you just said? That the older children were really kind of taking care of the younger children, right?
Yes, they had to help because there was just so much time in the day.
Yeah, what a sense of community when you think about that. So those kind of memories, when you think about it now and you come into this building here, what do you think?
I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Those children that Dave brought from the city, they were just, I could have stayed for days and talked to them. They were upset because I had to leave, but I had a lot going on that day. And you don't have to go now, do you, Graham? I said, yeah, I have to go now.
Wow.
So I promised, I said, if you ever come back, let me know and I'll come up and see you.
Oh, I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your involvement. You grew up in a situation probably very different than this one, right? You know, and you're a part of an organization called Public Color?
Well, I was a staff member for Public Color. It's a I got the shirt on. The kids gave me this when they were visiting.
Oh,
they gave me
nice.
the newest shirt
Nice.
design. And it's a nonprofit youth development program that teaches kids the skill of commercial painting. So they go into these big factory-like, often prison-like public schools in New York City, and the kids learn how to do commercial painting. And they come up with color codes so that the school has visual order. It feels safer. And when school feels safer, the cortisol level drops in their brain and they're able to study better. They're able to perform better.
Wow.
And because the kids do the work themselves, the kids vote on the color palettes that they're going to use for the school. There's a democratic process involved. You're involving the kids in it in every way. And then also on the weekends, you have corporate and community volunteers. So Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, Bloomberg, LP employees, students from NYU and from Pace, Lehman College, et cetera, they come and paint alongside the kids. So I worked for that organization for 5 years, and the first time I came to this farm was in 2006, because I'm friends with the owner, Dan, and I just knew I wanted to bring kids up here. I thought this is for something. I didn't know for what project. That was 2006. Here we are 15 years later. And I'm happy to be working here now, and I'm like, this is a goldmine opportunity.
When did the light go on about this project?
Oh gosh, I don't know. This sits right in a really visible corner, as you can hear the traffic going by. We're right on the corner of this is Hicks Road and this is Slyborough Road, or now I think it's Route 23, right? Is that 23?
23.
Yes. Yes.
So it's a marquee location for the orchard. So it looked derelict. I mean, it really, you can see we have to replace a bunch of window panes in the windows. The paint was all peeling off, the clapboards were falling off. The interior, there was over a ton of stuff that we removed. The community got together. We got a dumpster donated from a local person here, Clarence Ritchie, and we filled it up with stuff. And then we had, like I said, a group from Public Color come, and they did the exterior space, and we'll walk around and look at it. They did a color spectrum on this side of the building, because that's what Public Color does. And then the rest of the building is barn red. We just used regular old barn paint, barn red, and then white trim. On the inside, as of just this weekend, we just lead encapsulated, had another group from Lehman College, alumni from Lehman College. This is all lead paint, because anything before, I think, like 1974-ish, I think has got lead in it. So we had to lead encapsulate, use lead encapsulating paint, so it was kind of a big deal, because I don't want children in here. So the Public Color kids, when they were here, they were not allowed to come inside except for just to take a quick look and then leave. So yeah, we're now sitting in here.
So they worked on the exterior.
Yeah,
correct?
Public Color worked on the exterior, and then the interior was done by adults.
Right, gotcha. Until you really sort of mitigate whatever you think might be issues with lead paint or something like that.
When the Lehman, just so you know, like safety is important. So they missed the wall, they scrape off the old paint. They're wearing P100s. You know what an N95 mask? A P100 is even more intense with complete Tyvek jumpsuits. All of the lead scrapings, the paint was rolled up, taped up, and put in disposed of.
So when you really identified the project, and obviously from listening to you, very, very involved with it, you had to raise some money, right? Because let's face it, this just doesn't get restored on its own. And you really have to say, we're going to take some video of the building, so you'll see the building. So you had a spaghetti dinner, is that right?
That's right.
You were a guest.
She was the guest of honor.
Or the guest of honor,
Yeah,
come on. This is your schoolhouse.
Right.
No, absolutely, and that was successful.
It was.
And that was kind of like phase
pouring rain.
And you're in phase one, right?
It was phase one, which is really just to stabilize the building. Here right now, we've got a couple. We'll show you guys pictures, but these two, there's pins that go where the ceiling joist and the wall beam come together, or ceiling beam and wall joist. I'm not sure what the right language is. But there's a pin that goes in that holds those two pieces together. The pin has fallen out. The pin is broken. So we have to push up the middle of the schoolhouse, so that, because the slate roof is very heavy. We're lucky to have a slate roof, but it's very heavy and it's pancaking. So it's flattening out. So we got to jack up the middle, push up the ceiling, pull in the walls, and then replace the pins here. Meanwhile, we also have a beam on the middle of this floor here that is actually a tree. And it's like you can see that it was a tree, because that's how school. Well, when you built a school in the late 1800s, like this, it was all cobbled together from donated materials
and
from the community.
area.
Yeah, so you never know what you're going to find when you open up the walls.
Yes,
It could be oddly shaped or oddly positioned wood, because based on the wood that was donated. So anyway, you have to replace a beam as well. And then we have to put bricks underneath it, and then put a jack up the ceiling to kind of push it back
So
in.
what the time schedule on that is current, and then you kind of move into a phase 2.
Yeah.
And what do you hope to accomplish with phase 2?
Well, phase 2 is to form a 501c3 for the schoolhouse, and then I will probably officially this is on the property of the orchard, right? So what I would like to do is rent the schoolhouse from Dan, who's the owner, for like $5 a year.
Right.
You know, something. We have the reason we are doing the fundraiser, by the way, is there's no money in the orchard budget. Farming is very hard work and very thin margins. There's no money for any externals. This has no relationship to the orchard business. We have there's no operating use for it. So, you know, and this is the problem across America with old buildings. There's no longer a function for the building. There's no longer a use. There's no money. And so they're disappearing. And like I said, this is a marquee building right on the corner of Sliber and Hicks, right where the orchard. People have been coming here for, you know, 7 generations roughly. What a tragedy it would be to see this place bulldozed or fallen down like you see many old structures in rural America today. So the donors are not just donating because of youth development. They're not just donating because we used to have AA meetings, which we're reviving. They're also donating because they're sad to see, they don't want to see this be gone from the landscape.
You know, I think you told me that Dan had said to you, you know, the best way to preserve a building is to use it.
Right.
So, you know, the idea there is that there's an end game here that includes, as David was saying, not only the restoration of the building, but then to provide the space for continued use in the community. You mentioned AA meetings, you mentioned, you know, community events and things like that. You might have to come back and bring your homework, you know that? You know that one? Did you never finish?
We actually interrupted her canning today to be here. I think it'd be really fun. You could do a canning class in here, maybe. You could be the teacher.
We're so delighted to have you here. I can't tell you.
The roles are reversed. I'm the teacher.
Yes, that's right. It's so nice to have you join us today.
Helen is not with us anymore.
When did she die?
Quite a few years ago, Dave. I can't remember now. When you get old, a lot of things just go right off your head.
I wonder what she would think if she saw you sitting here now.
She'd be so happy.
Well, rumor has it she might be able to
she might be
see.
here.
We don't know the answer to that yet.
She was Irish, so you know the Irish.
There we go. A little stubborn, perhaps, maybe. The mission of the farm is really interesting. They grow food to build community. Now, you hear a lot of words put together that way, but you rarely hear them put together that well. You know, grow food to build community. So obviously Hicks Orchard, and if you haven't been here, you have to come here. It's not a sales pitch. You just have to come here because this place is so amazing. The orchard, just the personal involvement of the people here, David and Dan, and we met a couple of people when we were walking through. What's that cafe called? Slyboro
Cider House. So it's very ironic because this building was used for AA meetings.
Oh yeah.
And now
it's a hard cider
alcohol.
house.
we're now making hard cider, but like a lot of farms, we got to do added value products. So if you're a dairy, you're doing yogurt, you're doing cheese, you're doing ice cream. We're already pressing the apples, and we might as well ferment them and bottle it, and it has a longer shelf life than an apple. So we can smooth out that, you know, seasonal nature of our revenue, so we can hopefully stay in business. And I got to say, to Dan's credit, Dan is a member of the Agricultural Stewardship Association. So this land, he has 370 acres. It has to be preserved. It can never be developed because when you're a member of the ASA, we've also partnered with the Grassland Bird Trust, and we will have in the schoolhouse here a section for the Grassland Bird Trust, so that when school group tours come here to do their apple picking, which our 501c3 will raise money to pay the teachers to pay for the bus rental and the price per head. They'll be able to come here and learn about grassland birds and about the flora and fauna of this area, and they'll also be able to pick their apples and have their cider donut and their glass of cider as well. So it's a complete win.
You know, it is. He mentioned the ASA and the Grassland Bird Trust. And we're involved with both those organizations. And the thing that we always take away from it, and I'm sure you do too, is the fact that without these organizations, we don't preserve our culture, we don't preserve our history, and they need our support. So, you know, I'm thinking of the Hand Melon Farm over right outside Greenwich here, and also Hicks orchard, a pick your own orchard.
Yeah.
And you know, my wife, we've been here in the fall. We picked our own apples. It's just, and then you wander into the cafe there. Or,
Cidery.
Cider.
It's a tasting room. It's a cool tasting room because it's actually the old 1932 apple storage barn.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
And it was
it is.
chilled with river ice and sawdust. And so it's just like stepping back in time into that space. It's beautiful. Yeah.
Wow. So what did you do with what you learned? Last question. What did you do with what you learned here?
What did I do with what I learned? Well, I have a wonderful family, right, that I raised, and I do a lot of my own preserving, like pickling. I have a huge garden, and my son helps me. My husband passed away a year ago, so it's kind of on my shoulders. I'm going to stay as long as I can. I have a 6.5 acres, and my son mows most of it, because we have a, they call it zero-turn mower.
Yeah.
Yes, and so I have 3 children. I have 8 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And they're wonderful to me, wonderful.
Marianne, that's just fabulous. It's such an honor to meet you. And,
Oh, thank you.
And know that you're here, your spirit's
I
here in
know.
these walls, you know? You and all the other young ones back then,
yeah,
right? That came
yeah.
here, grades 1 through 6.
I have to tell you a cute story.
Sure.
One of my best friends was Joan Hicks. She was in my class. It was Charlie Hicks's daughter, one of the original Hickses, you know, founders. We used to go up outside the door, and up there was just a playground. It wasn't the trees, the apple trees. And my friend Joan and I would go to the edge of the fence, and we'd reach under the fence, and we'd take apples. My aunt got livid. Those are not your apples. You're stealing. Joan was my friend, and her father owned the orchard. But we weren't to take the apples.
So you're going to have to go stand in the corner
I
now,
am.
okay?
We have to find that dunce cap.
That's right. Oh, thank you both so much.
You're welcome.
For inviting us out, David.
Thanks for coming out.
It's wonderful to come out. And to meet you is just an honor. I love it. We could talk all day.
Yeah, I
As you
know.
probably know, this interview is run really long, but we're going to run it anyway. So I just want to thank you both again for inviting us
You're
out.
welcome.
And please, Hicks Apple Orchard outside of Granville. All I know is you get lost and you wind up here. So, you know, but you can find out how to do it. And please support them and come look at this wonderful work they're doing to restore the house. Thank you. Stay safe,
Jesse,
okay?
thank you
very You much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, dear.
Maria.
Thank you.
Bye. See this interview again. You may head to our website. Look, TV. Look, now what do we call it? Lookmediaresource.org.